part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
That sound means it's time for Cavs on the Break NBA podcast from the Press Play Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chase Smith, and with me, finally, after what feels like months and months and months of no podcast time together, he's the NBA writer for hoopswire.com. He's our Cavs insider, national NBA writer, Sam Amico. Sam, what's up, my man? It's so good to see and talk to you.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you again. Anytime the NBA schedule comes out, I get excited because I'm like, gosh, we're almost there, right? Like just a couple months now.
Yes. And hey, before we talk about that, shouts to Zach for checking this podcast out. Zach, thanks, buddy. But the summer sometimes can be a slog for NBA content, NBA news. Sam, you know better than most. You're stretching, looking for anything just to pounce on. And so when the Cavs dropped their schedule, I sent a message out. I said, fellas, let's record a podcast. And then there was a gift from the basketball gods. LeBron signed his extension as well. So we got a little slate here to touch on, Sam, which I think all could be of interest for all Cavs fans. But yesterday or today, depending on when you're listening to this, the NBA dropped their entire 2022-23 NBA schedule. And the Cavs, who had 0 national televised games last year, Sam, we now have 9 going into the year. What is going on?
I really don't know. It's
9 nationally televised basketball games.
I just think it's a result of last season when this team looked like a young, promising, mostly when you're talking about television, fun to watch team.
Yeah. The first game that's nationally televised November 7th at NBA TV at the Clippers. We actually have 4 games on NBA TV starting November 7th, December 26th, day after Christmas, versus the Brooklyn Nets. We're actually hosting the Nets that game. That'll be a fun little game to kind of watch. March 10th in Miami, and then March 21st, we're going back in Brooklyn. And then with 3 games, we're going to be on ESPN. February 10th, we're going to be in Nolans against the Pelicans, March 1st in Boston, and then March 15th hosting the 76ers. TNT is going to get their taste of the Cavs. December 6th, probably one of the biggest highlighted games, probably in Cleveland home schedule, hosting the Lakers and LeBron. And then February 2nd, another incredible game, hosting the Grizzlies and Ja Morant. Some pretty juicy games there, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, and then you talk about the Pelicans too, should be much improved with CJ McCollum had a great run with them, and Ingram, and we're assuming Zion will finally be healthy. So there's when you talk about national television matchups, those are a lot of big games, for the Cavs. But every game this year, Chase, is going to be worth tuning in, and they're all televised locally. So but it's nice. It's nice to see. I think that everybody in every fan base, especially the mid-market size teams like Cleveland, always wants to see how many nationally televised games they get, because that's kind of like viewed as a sign of respect. So, around the league, people have taken notice with the Cavs.
Pulling some of this from the article at NBA.com. In regards to those games, Bally Sports Ohio will be broadcasting 80 of Cleveland's 82 regular season games on TV, with the exception of the December 6th against the Lakers and 2nd against the Grizzlies, the ones on, I think that is TNT. Yes, aside from the TNT games. Both of those will be airing exclusively on TNT. All 82 games will be broadcasted on the flagship stations, WTAM 1100 AM and 106.9 FM, WMMS 100.7 FM, and the Cavaliers Audioverse as well. The Cavs are known to having some West Coast trips, Sam, some kind of like maybe unfavorable road trips. I don't think they're going to get away from that.
No, that always seems to come at a difficult time. But if you remember last year, they did just fine on those West Coast trips.
They really did.
They went out early in the season, and that's really kind of where we thought, look at this team kind of turning things around here when they went on the West Coast trip early in the season. So, look, everybody's got to play everybody, and they've got to take their trips. It's just sometimes, you look like last year, it seemed like the Lakers played 9 of the first 10 games at home, to make sure they get off to a good start, whereas the Cavs don't get that type of, if you want to call it, favoritism from the schedule makers. That they don't. The mid-market teams just don't get those kind of breaks. But, hey, look, it's all okay because, again, they did pretty well on the road last year when they were completely healthy wherever they played. So you hope that they can pick that up again.
On that note, each Western Conference opponent will play the Cavs twice, once at the Rock and once on the road at the visiting arena. The Cavs will mostly play all Eastern Conference teams 4 times, with the exception of Washington, Atlanta, Philly, and Brooklyn, thrice each. Thrice. Word of the day, Sam. Thrice.
Yeah, I try never to use that word, so I'm glad you did.
Try never to use that word thrice. Wow. Do you have a hatred for thrice?
No, just I don't hate anything. I don't think, but I
this has turned philosophical.
I just try to say 3 times, but I whatever you're comfortable with. Thrice. We'll say thrice.
December 6th, hosting the Lakers. That's going to have some subcontext. It's going to have some narratives. We're going to have some fun with that game, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, anytime LeBron James comes back to town, it's a big deal. And here he is, going to be 38 years old a couple weeks after that game. It's just
all I'm saying is I want an invitation to the birthday party. That's all that I care about.
Well, we'd probably be in LA, so
he'll have one here. He'll have one here.
Maybe. A funny story is when I first met Mike Miller, who had signed with the Cavs, I think 2014 maybe.
That sounds right.
And we were talking. I was just doing a story on him, had a one-on-one conversation with him, and we kind of broke from the interview, and he said he was going to LeBron's house that night, and it was for the first time. And I said, "Oh, that's great." And he says, "Have you ever been there? Have you ever been inside?" I'm like, "You think LeBron invites me over?" No. I mean, come on.
Well, I'll let you know what it's like, Sam. I'll let you know what it's like.
I was gonna say, when you go to the party, Mike Miller will probably be there. Yeah. Just tell him I said hello and let me know what it looks like on the inside.
I will. Is there a game that you're excited to kind of see the Cavs play? Maybe see how they stack up? Maybe like an early game?
Yeah, the opener. Against the Raptors, you have Evan Mobley
away in
Toronto.
Yeah,
and Toronto, to me is kind of on the same level in terms of expectations for the season.
Mobley, Barnes.
Well, that's the big thing. You have Evan Mobley, who should have won Rookie of the Year, and Scotty Barnes, who did win Rookie of the Year, going head to head. And it's just tough. It's always tough to open on the road. And Toronto's, would they finish 4th or 5th seed, I think, last year. I felt that's where the Cavs would have finished had they stayed healthy. So I just think, it's never a big deal how you fare in the opener. But to me, that's, a lot of people are going to be really charged up about this Cavs season. And they're going to be excited about the opener. And when was the last time we said that? When LeBron was here.
Especially if they keep leaking Darius Garland workout videos.
Yeah. Those are much more impressive than my leaked workout videos.
Or Myles Garrett dunking awkwardly videos.
Yeah, right.
Which was what the Cavs were promoting last year. They were like, what's going on? Now we get smooth, silky Darius Garland shooting one-legged fadeaway, unbalanced threes and just hitting nothing but the bottom of the net. Sam, he's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that's going to make all this interesting. when you talk about, what's the deal with Collin Sexton, we still don't have any answers on that in terms of his free agency and what's going to happen with that. It sounds like worst case scenario is he picks up the qualifying offer and plays for the qualifying offer and then becomes a unrestricted free agent at the end of next season, which it's looking more and more like that's going to be the case. That said, the reason I bring that up is because no matter when he comes back, Darius Garland is now the face of the franchise.
Yeah.
And, he's been, he was had an incredible year last year. And that dynamic is going to be interesting, assuming Collin Sexton comes back. Because when he went down with the injury, he was kind of the face of the franchise. And now Garland is. And I know, look, they get along. I think Sexton has accepted that. And they share an agent, Rich Paul. So I think it'll go just fine. It's just now you have, assuming Sexton comes back, you have two guys who can just light you up in the backcourt. And Garland just was magnificent at the end of last year. And as we're seeing now, is putting in the work this offseason too.
One final touch on the calendar here. When the Cavs released it on Twitter, they included this really cool feature that you can sync the Cavs calendar with your calendar on your phone. And so instead of having to look up online or even use a weird app, you can just have the Cavs NBA calendar sync with your calendar on your phone. I did it. It's a very cool feature. So I'm never going to miss a game. And they released some pretty cool wallpapers too. So shouts to the Cavs, doing good work there, Sam. Sam, you'll be at all the games, right?
I should be at most of the home games.
Right.
I probably, the road games, actually, depending on how they do, I may go to a little bit more.
Okay.
I love going to Detroit. They have the best media food and it's free. So those are two big pluses, but I just like their arena. It's a short drive. But
Indiana's nice.
Indiana's fantastic. If you love basketball, that really is kind of the basketball state, like Ohio's the football state.
The Fieldhouse vibe is just great.
Their foyer there is like an Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. It's just really cool. So, that I intend to go to as many as possible and
road trip buddies. I'm inviting myself on your road trips.
Yeah. Well, the jokes will be endless directed at you. As long as you can handle that, then you're more than welcome to come. You've handled it this long. I don't know why it would.
I can handle it. Hey, really quick before this podcast gets any more out of control, Sam, it's not going to be such a super long podcast, kind of like a little 5-minute timeout here. Let's talk about the LeBron extension, something that has kind of been an undercurrent storyline in the off season. It was like kind of, you heard it during the season. We talked about it at the All-Star show we did at Whitey's. Yeah. I felt like leading the pack in the Browns coming home train. I feel like I was out way early on that. You guys made fun of me, and then it picked up a little bit of steam this offseason. And now, Sam, he signed this 2-year extension with the insert Brian Windhorst meme fingers player option for 2024. Sam, is he coming home in 2024?
Well, I think that possibility exists. I think there are a lot of things at play that would determine that. A lot's going to probably happen between now and 2024. If the Cavs are, cruising with this current roster, well, then maybe you don't have an interest. I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's hard to predict because so many things can happen. Look, the Lakers want to try to upgrade that roster, but they're going to really need somebody else to help them right now. They're going to need somebody else to take on Westbrook. There's not a lot of interest there around the league. They're really pushing the Nets for Kyrie Irving, but the Nets aren't interested in Russell Westbrook's contract and 2 first-round picks.
You posted that on HoopsWire. That was a HoopsWire.
Yeah, right. And I mean,
I did my homework instead of John. I checked you out, Sam. Come on, man.
I know how you hate to read, so that touches me more than John when he does. Yeah. When John looks at.
Well,
but
a wise man once told me I shouldn't hate much. I shouldn't hate anything. And so, right. But you just said that. That was you.
Yeah, a wise man or me. But I think that, look, Chase, the possibility exists. The one thing that's probably working against that, I think fans are split on whether or not they want LeBron to come back. But I think the one thing is we have to consider his family's very entrenched in Los Angeles. They're kind of the ones who wanted to move out there when that possibility became open. And, so when Bryce comes out of college, he'll spend a year in college. That's going to coincide kind of with the end of LeBron's contract. I'm sorry, Bronny. And Bryce is still going to be Bronny. And Bryce is still going to be in high school there. I just don't know how it would all match up for him to come back. That said, sure. Well,
if Bronny goes to Ohio State.
Yeah, if Bronny goes to Ohio State, and then I think that's a real possibility. I had someone close to LeBron tell me that just the other night that there's no front runner or any of that, even though we saw Oregon and some others. So I think there's just so much at play. It's hard to predict right now, Chase, but I think that's always in the back of his mind for sure.
Yeah. Well, that seemed like a pretty good scoop there, Sam. Dropping a little nugget here about 20 minutes in, man. A little gold.
Have we been on that long? It feels like 5.
maybe a little shorter.
Okay.
Well, so his extension is done. 2-year extension, final year player option, and it's not going to stop any conversation. I think there's always going to be a conversation around LeBron. People are always going to be looking at what's next, at where he could go. But it's fun to think. It's fun to think about the trilogy being complete. I was talking to someone, maybe it was John, that then he would leave us a third time. So the trilogy, both trilogies would be complete. He would come back a third time and then leave us a third time.
Yeah. I think if he comes back, that's probably going to be the end of his career. He's either going to end it in Los Angeles or Cleveland. Although, from the sounds of things, if the Sacramento Kings draft Bronny, he would go there. That's right. What he's saying anyway. And maybe the Sacramento Kings will. Who knows?
Yeah, or the Magic. Can you imagine if the Magic draft, like with the talent they have now, they draft Bronny and get LeBron? That'd be fun.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't think I want him to go to Orlando or Sacramento, though. That might be kind of boring.
Oh, no, it's all good. Well, you know what's not boring? This podcast.
That is true.
And that does it for this episode. Very quick episode of the Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. We're just talking about the schedule, talking about LeBron. It's all good. Thank you all so much for downloading and listening. Shouts to the Press Play Podcast Network for making this possible. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Cavs on the Break. We always follow back. Always, always, always. Make sure to follow Sam on Twitter at Amico Hoops. Catch all of his works and writings at hoopswire.com. And Sam, guess what?
What's
the
that?
Junkyard Dog Award tonight goes to you. You got it.
Hey, I finally won.
You got it, man. Hey, any final thoughts tonight?
No, it's just great to talk to you again. And look, training camp about 5-6 weeks away. So
coming up.
It'll be here sooner than you know it. I'm excited, and I'm sure the fans are too.
Maybe we'll hit on a couple preseason games, but hopefully I'm up there with you guys for Media Day. We get to have some awesome content for you all this whole season. Sam, always great talking to you, man. Thanks for making time tonight. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Mike Breen, take us out.
Congratulations, Cleveland. Your decades-long wait is finally over. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.